Favre, I just heard on the news that, with this gal that he hooked up with, and he's married and everything. It's amazing that people with addictions and just addicted to pain medications and alcohol, and what it does to people's lives and the people they love.
Yeah, it seems like for Brett Favre, part of his problem was occupational. And a lot of people do have occupational things that lead them into addiction, like nurses. A lot of them get addicted to a lot of painkillers there and different things. And when I was starting out, a lot of dentists were getting addicted to the laughing gas, believe it or not. So Brett Favre got addicted to, Vicodin because of his chronic injuries from being a football player.
Yeah, and having a propensity for addiction and having the availability of the pain medication is almost like having the availability of alcohol for someone who's an alcoholic. It's the same for us physicians. A lot of us, and not a lot, but there's a lot of, are very vulnerable to having addictions to some of the drugs we prescribe.
Yeah, and there's a responsibility to it. And like for Brett Favre, in any training room, they're going to give him Vicodins. There's doctors that will say, you're injured, you qualify, and so there's, he becomes addicted.
Well, and let's face it, Favre has real pain. Can you imagine? I hear the stories about the guys that have been playing football for years, and they talk about their injuries, and the pain lasts from game to game, and a lot of it's permanent.
Yeah.
It needs treatment.
And in football, it's all about the performance. It's just like being an actor. All that matters is how do you come across in that moment. Those 60 minutes of the game. So whatever you're feeling during the week, they don't care, Yeah,
and how does someone like that find sobriety? How does someone that, where do they search in the world? Where it's almost like they're lost in this place where so many people depend on them and they're so used to providing for people. And how do they become sober and start a new life?
Yeah.
And that's all they own. They know.
And I guess 3 years after he became sober with the Vicodin, meanwhile he had an addiction to alcohol.
Yeah, and that's the thing about addictions. We know that it's not just usually one addiction, there's lots of addictions. And probably with the stuff in the news, it's probably maybe an impulse control problem or addiction, sexual addiction for this guy that he needs to deal with now.
Yeah, because he's had this sort of pattern, and in 12-step tradition they talk about the idea of white knuckling your addiction, and that let's say he gives up alcohol, but did he really give it up to deal with those issues that are driving the addiction? And from what we've read about Brett Favre, he had this really kind of destructive relationship with his father, that he was never good enough for his dad, who was a football coach, and that even after he won the Super Bowl, his dad was still criticizing the way he threw a pass. That there's never any joy in how Brett performed to his father. It was always there was something wrong.
Yeah, and how much of that's reality, and how much of that is the perceived experience that he had with his dad? Because maybe that's all he knew of his dad in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll never know. What's important, and you and I know what's important, is that you guys got to find. You want healthy, intimate relationships, and that's what we all want.